What's going on, you bunch of heathens? We're jumping straight into the history behind Ruina Imperii. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Whatever. But, just finished listening to the song. I'm jumping straight into this so I can learn more about it. And, yeah, the original's linked below. Go check it out. Let's jump in.
All empires eventually crumble.
Including the Swedish Empire. This is Ruina Imperii.
Yep. Unfortunately. I was close enough, I guess. And yes, unfortunately, all empires do crumble. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why I thought this was going to be a Roman Empire song, by the way. I thought it was going to be about the Roman Empire.
It was a cold day for the Swedish forces in front of the Norwegian fortress
Indy
of
dripped out.
Frederikshavn. Their sappers had dug their trenches close towards the fortress walls, well within musket distance of the defenders, and all soldiers kept their heads down, if they did not want to come under sporadic fire. Dusk came, and soon darkness fell over the battlefield. The defenders lit torches on the walls and shot fireballs into the air to illuminate the night sky. This evening, King Charles XII, Karl den Tolste, chose to walk the trenches with his officers. Karl was in a good mood, and he was intrigued by the activities on the fortress walls. Curious, he climbed towards the top of the trench, despite the vehement protests of his officers. Waving them aside, he lay down alongside the breastwork, with his head and arms over the slope. Behind him, the officer...
let me guess, one shot is all it took, just took his head off.
Were arguing, urging their king to caution, get back to safety. The darkness made it more difficult to spot him, but no musket ball would distinguish His Royal Highness from the common soldier.
They wouldn't fucking care.
It was 9 o'clock, and the moon reappeared from behind.
And if anything, they're gonna aim for him specifically. It's the enemy king, who's a dumbass enough to fucking poke his head out of the trenches. Yeah, I'm gonna aim for him.
Behind the clouds, the king rested his cheek on his left hand.
He lifted his head as well?
Suddenly, the officers heard a dull sound, as if a stone fell from the skies on the cold earth. Karl's head lay motionless on the ground. Lord Jesus, the king has been shot! Karl den Tolste was killed at the age of 36 in the 22nd year of his reign. His body was carried by his loyal soldiers through the snowy Norwegian mountains and back to Stockholm.
Homie kind of deserved it. All his officers were like, hey, don't do that, sir. Please get down. It is not safe. It'll be fine. Like, nah, homie, it ain't gonna be fine.
Where he was soon laid to rest. The war in Norway was abandoned. The armies went home. Seemingly overnight, the Swedish Empire crumbled. Deprived of her king, all ambitions of restoring the nation to its old glory vanished, and the vision of a Swedish empire beyond Scandinavia died with Carolus Rex. Karl's rule passed to his sister Ulrika Eleonora and then to his brother-in-law Frederick after a couple years. The Swedish soldiers were forced to fight the Russian fleet in the coming years as they began pillaging the Swedish shores and islands. But although the Swedes were still fighting, even if it was just to keep the homeland safe, peace was on the horizon. In the treaties of Frederiksborg and Nystad, Sweden lost all its Baltic territories, which Russian Tsar Peter had already occupied, and its dominions in northern Germany were partitioned among her other enemies. Sweden's empire had ended.
Like, the chanting is so good. I love the chanting. Dude, why is it anytime I record, I start to yawn?
And Karl's ever unfulfilled desire for conquest, Sweden finally had a chance to recover. The Swedes had suffered much during the last years of Karl's reign, and the burdens of the last 10 years had ruined the state. Just like the soldiers in the field, the Swedish peasants had to suffer and endure a great deal simply to do their duty to king and country. The ever-increasing demands made upon the yeomanry impoverished most of Sweden's farmers. The obligations to supply the crown with grain and fodder, horses and carts, had left many with little for themselves. In addition, The way the Swedish military system was designed, each farm had to maintain up to 3 soldiers. Each Swede was to supply soldiers with not only food, but with luxuries like tobacco and spirits. Bad harvests worsened their lot, bringing famine and disease.
Oh, that is a haunting picture. This is very like, look how, like, you see it in her face, but you can see her collarbones very much so showing. Her arm is super skinny. Dude over here is eating his boot. This is a haunting ass picture. Holy shit.
Sweden's south, the breadbasket of the nation, saw a massive decline in population during Karl's reign. Farmsteads had been deserted as the young men went to war. Travelers made remarks about the dismal existence of the Swedish farmers and the absence of young men in the countryside. Some said they did not see a single man between the ages of 20 and 40 in the whole country except for those in the army. Commerce and foreign trade had nearly
doesn't seem like a
because
smart
of the constant
way.
state of war.
Yeah, that doesn't
Trading
seem
with the
smart
Baltic
to
provinces
me.
became mostly impossible and revenues dried up. While Swedish ships remained at anchor, British, Dutch, and Danish merchants exploited the gap and took over the markets. The ensuing lack of raw materials and resources soon crippled manufacturers all over Sweden. Karl XI had left his son a full treasury, and while Sweden was victorious in the field, the wars would partly pay for themselves through plunder and subsidies. But the longer the wars dragged
partly,
on, and
but
eventually turned against
war's
the Swedes,
expensive.
the debt rose to unbearable levels. In the final years of Karl XII's reign, the royal treasury accumulated a debt of over £1 million. The Swedish economy, flooded
that
with
much
nearly worthless paper money and metal tokens, was about to collapse. Karl had been the one who stood in the way of peace. While he was alive, he would have never accepted a compromise that would not restore the territory he had lost. A disadvantageous peace, even just for the sake of his nation, would have been unacceptable to that monarch. Karl, however, was not indifferent to the suffering of the Swedes, nor was he the evil tyrant who exploited them for the sake of his own glory, as his enemies often portrayed him.
I mean, he kind of seems like it.
In the moment, he looked to his immediate needs on how to finance the next strike against his enemies and left the internal problems to his pretty powerless ministers. In the field, Karl willingly shared the hardships of the soldiers. He slept on the same cold ground, ate the same meager meals.
Yes, that's all well and good, but it doesn't help if your people just in general are suffering. Like, that doesn't help whatsoever. You could be the greatest military leader, but you are a leader of everyone, not just the military. And with you prioritizing the military like this, you're letting everyone else suffer. All because you wanted to restore everything, when it wouldn't be worth it at this point. You're letting everyone else suffer. Your nation's going to ruin because you want to go to war.
He exposed himself to mortal danger time and again. As a king, he valued valor, modesty, piety, and restraint above all else. While on campaign, no one would have taken Karl for a king if they did not know him. He wore no expensive garb, no jewels, not even fur or armor. As a commander,
Homie's hairline is gone, though.
Subordinates. He was reassuring to his
36.
officers and kind to even the lowliest servant. Although never on familiar terms, he took great care of those that shed blood in his name. Often he was found sitting in silence, sharing the soldier's lot as he mourned those that had fallen in his service. Still.
Yeah, but what about the people who are dying at home? Like, that's the issue, isn't it? That's what it comes down to, is he cared about those in service. It seems to me like he wanted to be more of a soldier than an actual king.
He expected nothing less than absolute obedience from his soldiers. His command was law, and those who doubted his judgment would feel his wrath. As he was generous to his men, so was he terrible to his foes. He would burn down a village of innocents if it meant not letting the guilty escape, and judgment over he himself was to be done by God, by no one else.
Oh, he's one of those.
Karl clung to the legacy of Swedish Empire and saw it as his personal responsibility to keep fighting for its honor and existence. He fought the wars to right old wrongs, to recapture what was lost, and keep what was rightfully his, always believing that just one more decisive victory on the battlefield would turn it all around. Karl had seen life as a cycle of good and bad times. Just as he was victorious in the field, there would come a time when he would lose it all, only to rise back up once more. But in the end, it all vanished in this one fateful night.
He has the gambler's mentality. It's one more win, just one win, and it'll all be okay. I lost, damn it, but I won it big, homie. He has the gambler's mentality, is what I'm hearing.
In front of Fredrikshald, Karl's death led to the end of the old Swedish Empire. Sweden would successfully defend itself, though, and soon enter an era of liberty, but both the absolute monarchy and the empire were lost forever. Swedish King Gustavus III, Gustav III, years later once said of Karl, he was extraordinary rather than great. He certainly had not the true conquering temperament which simply aims at acquisition of territory. Karl took dominions with one hand, only to give them away with the other. Superior to Alexander, with whom it were an injustice to compare him, he was as much inferior to his rival Peter in the qualities which make a great ruler as he excelled him in those qualities which go to make a great hero. What else can be said about Karl's reign?
He was a good military leader, but a bad head of state.
Was he a good king or a bad king? Did he resemble the hero of his own Greek tragedy, forced to fight a war that he would ultimately lose no matter what? Or was there a realistic chance that he could reinvigorate the Dominium Maris Baltici like his forefathers had envisioned? Or was he a selfish tyrant, one whose endless wars brought nothing but misery to his realm and his people? Over the centuries, people have remained fascinated with Karl's life, and it seems that history has still not made up its mind about him. The march begins in military state, and nations on his eye suspended wait. Stern famine guards the solitary coast, and winter barricades the realms of frost. He comes, nor want nor cold his course delay. Hide blushing glory, hide Poltava's day. The vanquished hero leaves his broken bands, and shews his miseries in distant lands, condemned and needy supplicant to wait, while ladies interpose and slaves debate. But did not chance at length his error mend? Did no subverted empire mark his end? Did rival monarchs give the fatal wound, or hostile millions press him to the ground? His fall was destined to a barren strand, a petty fortress, and a dubious hand. He left the name
this is a dope-ass poem
pale, to point a moral or adorn a tale. Samuel Johnson, The Vanity of Human Wishes.
That was dope. That was a good one.
Now, Per, there is no English version of Ruina Imperii.
That is true. As the ending track of the Carolus Rex album, which was available in Swedish and in English, we wanted eventually to keep the legacy of the Swedish Empire a little bit longer and do our little part to tell people that they have to learn a little bit of Swedish to keep it growing.
I wonder how many people out there have actually memorized the Swedish lyrics.
More than you think. I know that there's a lot of you out there who can sing along to one.
I mean, it doesn't seem... This song in particular, the Swedish language just sounds fucking insane to learn. But this song in general, it doesn't seem hard to learn the lyric. I know there are multiple songs where songs are a good way to memorize something. Like, there are songs that I can recite off of memory, but there are other songs I can't. It's just, there's songs are a great way to memorize something, even if it's in another language.
One song in Swedish, thanks to we never made an English version of it, and it's also
honestly
funny,
smart move.
We actually never performed the full Carolus Rex album as a whole.
Yeah.
But we never played this song live because at the show when we did it, we had Caroleans coming out and we actually had the King Carolus Rex with us, and he was shot, and there was a lot of things. And during this, we had the Caroleans moving out and marching out and doing a reenactment, and then
I like the flashes of the fire lighting everyone in the background. I mentioned that in the Yarn Hub video. I really like it's. I'm sure they didn't mean for it to be like that, but I just like the idea of it. Like, especially in, like, movies and whatnot and videos, it is such a cinematography thing that I just enjoy. The bright flashes briefly lighting up whatever's in the background is such a nice trend. I see it in videos, movies, and video games, and I love it.
Eventually firing, and the band disappeared and got changed for the second part of the show. But it was very interesting to see the whole audience to sing along, because for once we were also just observing. It was a Sabaton show. The stage is full of Caroleans and a dead king. Yeah. And there's a huge audience. And
but no Sabaton.
We are just not playing.
And
that's a cool intermission, though.
People must have asked for an English version, of course.
There are some people who ask for it, and some people who think that there was an error, but this was intentional from our side.
I don't think it necessarily needs an English version. I would enjoy, kind of like the video that we ended up watching, where it has both the Swedish and English lyrics. I would enjoy something like that simply so that way I can understand what you're saying.
We wanted to have this one, like, if you want to understand the full meaning, you got to learn Swedish.
And it is, it's a great concept album, a real, a hardcore concept album. And what was going on with the band then at the time that, this was happening? Because this is two albums.
I love band history time.
It's a lot to digest.
It's a big concept that we did. And it's very emotional. And when I listen to this song, ending the album, I always think, because Carolus Rex for me means a lot, and it means a lot for all of us, because not only the amount of work we put into it, that it was such a again, a lot of people said we cannot do it, we shouldn't do it, an album in Swedish about Carolus Rex, about the Swedish Empire, you shouldn't do it, it's controversial. We did it anyway. People said it's not gonna sell.
So far it's really
more
good.
than anything we've done ever. And
fuck you guys.
All the way it worked. But during this, we also had a lot of internal struggles.
Okay.
So this is by the time we are recording this in 2011, when, as some of you know, when Sabaton, as it was formed, the Sabaton Mark I was disbanded. Yeah. It was during the middle of the album recording, and we decided to go separate ways. And in order to finish the album in time, it was very hard work done by mainly Joachim, who had to wrap up because there was no more band. So a lot of guitars was played by him and things like that as well.
That's interesting.
To finish this album. And I remember me and Joachim saying, okay, maybe there will be no more Sabaton after this, but let's at least finish this as a kind of a... Then if this is our final album, then let's do one hell of an album about it.
That's cool. I like that. I like that mentality. If this is going to be our last huzzah, if there's no more of us after this, we're going out with a bang. I really like that. That's super cool.
And it was really hard to have the emotional things about we don't even know if there's a band that's going to be with us anymore. And working writing double album. Yeah. And then also trying to be creative without knowing if we can even go on tour. Because how to go on tour without a band. And
Yeah, that'd be weighing on you heavy
all in all,
too.
this album, and specifically when I hear this song, because it ends the album.
Yeah.
And it was one of the latest additions to the album. It was one of the, I think the last song that was written for the album and added, and it doesn't have any guitar solo, and it doesn't. It's a different.
I didn't realize that. That's such a mind. Something felt different about it, but yeah, that felt like either an intro or more appropriately an outro for the album. Which, yeah, and no, it doesn't have a guitar solo, which something felt off about it. Like it felt somewhat shorter because it didn't have that solo. Yeah,
Vibe of the song. It reminds me a lot about this all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that no fan, you guys didn't know about what was going
until
on at
now.
that time. And also our record label Nuclear Blast had no idea that this. And I remember after we finished the album, and I make the phone call down to Germany to the Nuclear Blast, and I say, guys, put it on speakerphone and pull all the team that is working with us in the same room. And when they are all there, guys, sit down. Okay, first, the good news, we have finished an album, and it is by far our best album. And
bad news
is that there is no more Sabaton at the moment.
Yeah,
and,
good news, album's done.
And,
bad news,
they
there's
said,
no more
What
Sabaton.
do you mean? I said, there's only me and Joachim left in the band. And they were absolutely stunned.
Damn,
and,
hit them with the bad and good news.
Can survive such a big change. And I was explaining to them, you have to trust us on this. We believe so strongly in Sabaton that we will be able to take it from here and raise it up and make it more powerful than ever. And they were so against us. First of all, we have made an album about something that they couldn't understand. Yeah. Why do when you write album about international wars and suddenly you write about a Swedish king that they never heard of hundreds of years ago, and the Swedish party say don't do this because it's going to be controversial and maybe even forbidden in Sweden, and then and you're going to launch it without.
Is it really that controversial in Sweden? Like talking about this? The end of the empire? I wouldn't think so, but I guess it is.
Having a band and you are splitting up a band that is very loved, this is the end of your band. And I have to spend a lot of effort convincing them that, guys, you have to put faith in this because we will turn this in our favor and we will come out very strong from this. And they trusted in us.
We have to try.
After a lot of convincing. And I think that now they are, everyone knows where it all ended up with today, I think we are just a few numbers away from a 5 times platinum certification of an album, which is Swedish means unprecedented in rock history.
Hell yeah, good for y'all.
Actually, I was curious where the interview part of this song was going to go when we started it. You know, I knew a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know we were going to go there. And I bet you guys didn't either. So that is where we will leave you today for Sabaton History.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for making it.
Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you everybody for supporting. And those who don't do it, click the bell, subscribe, and become a patron. Thank you very much.
This was a really good episode. Like I said, I think I enjoy the history parts more than the actual songs at this point, but that's probably just me because I like getting backstory for it. So, yeah, and I love the band history portions. The band history portions are by far my favorite part, I think. Because it's just so cool that you don't really see a lot of behind the scenes for major musicians. So that's really cool to hear. Original's linked below. Make sure you guys go check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. See ya.